Here's what you say if someone says that they have to talk to their business partner. Well, what would happen if they said no?
If you don't have trust with the customer, like there's no chance this is ever working.
3 words you should never say in your business.
Coming from a guy that's made multiple 6 figures.
Made a lot of bag.
How much do the words actually matter?
The way in which you say them, I think matters even more.
You got to establish that you are sharp as a tack, you're enthusiastic as hell, perceived as an expert in your field.
Okay, so that's like great, right? But like, how does that look in a sale?
Sell me the pen.
I'm going to meet you halfway with this, and I'll give a little sales training here.
Pierce was trying to trap him the whole time.
And he knows it too. Look at him.
We the top 10. UGK the major way, not play it, don't stop.
All right. Sorry I'm late today, guys. We've got Braden Connor, Talon Mortensen on the podcast today. And we've already done, so we wanted to do something different for this episode. We thought it'd be fun to react to the most viral TikToks for sales tips and then do the most viral TikToks for side hustles and compare them to what we do for work, just to see if, so we'll rate them and then see if what we do is better. Okay. But what I was thinking is like, it'd be sick to get, because you guys are 2 of our main leaders at Moxie and have been highly successful in your personal sales and in managing teams. So I thought it'd be cool to get your guys' opinion on some of these sales tip TikToks, because I look at them and some of them are outrageous. I think like, how does this even have so many views? Because it's like, just, I think some of them are crap and some of them are okay. And like, you see how they go.
Give them credit. Okay. All right.
Are we gonna be watching your videos and judging those, or?
Yeah, they're all mine.
I'm just kidding. It's all just a funnel to get more views for it. And
so there's this guy. He's up and comer. He's doing okay.
Up and comer. He's got big biceps. He talks about this tritonal clothes pretty often.
Yeah. Let's go to the one where he's crying and gets roasted.
Yeah.
Anyway, anything you guys want to say before we start? No. Any final grievances before we dive in? Dude, TikTok is...
Like I said, I'm just happy to be here. Seriously. Both guys are guys who brought me into the company, so...
I will give you the most honest reaction I can.
Yeah, me too.
That I can always count on with you, Braid.
That's actually a guarantee.
That is
whether you said that or not. That is one thing I appreciate about
satisfaction guarantee is that you won't always be satisfied, but you will always know where you stand.
You will get the truth. Just kidding. You will get the truth. Will it leave you with a smile or with a frown? That is to be determined.
That's your choice.
You do get
you decide how happy you are from what I say.
That is true. That's why I cried myself to sleep last night.
And me many nights. Okay, should we just do this and see how it goes?
Yeah, let's do it.
I don't even know what we're doing. Okay, so this is Alex Hormozi.
All right, Father
obviously,
Hormozi.
And Papa Hormozi, and I don't know what this one is. I haven't watched all of these, but let's just see what this is from Papa Hormozi.
Here's what you say if someone says that they have to talk to their business partner, or they have to talk to their husband, or they have to talk to their wife before they make a decision. The first thing you do, you say, well, what would happen if they said no? If they say, well, I would do it anyways, then boom, you close the sale. If they say, well, I don't think I would do it if they said no, then you ask, why do you think they'd be opposed to this? Now, obviously, they haven't even talked to their spouse yet, but they're going to give you the real reasons that they're actually against it, and then you can confront those. And then, if they still don't want to say yes after confronting those decisions, you then rely on past agreements. And so what that means is you say, well, do they know that you're struggling with this problem? Yes. Are they happy that you're struggling with the problem? Do they approve of the current condition you're in, that you're struggling? They say no. Then why would they be opposed to you fixing something they already don't approve of? And so you rely on the past to get them to say yes. And then at the very end you say, hey, at the end of the day, sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission, right? Right.
I've said that line
better to ask for
recently.
Listen, we don't want you sleeping on the couch over pest control, okay?
Yeah.
What are you guys' thoughts on this from a sales training, sales tactics standpoint? Like, how sound is this actually? Your guys' opinions.
I'll let Braden go first.
I run a very similar route. Actually, I like it. I'm fond of it because I run a similar route. Except my question's a bit different because I'm trying to get them to go down a certain funnel, like a certain direction,
like line of thinking.
Exactly. So, like when he says, "Do you think they would say no?" Right? Do you think they would say no to this? I don't leave it open. I say, do you think they would say no more to like the service or the price?
Okay.
So there's more of an assumption behind my words, thinking that they actually do want my service, or if they already have a service, they already agreed to it. They just need to see the value in mind. So I asked them,
interesting,
would they say no to more of like the service or the price?
Yeah.
Give them something to say no to, and then
so it's like an alternative close, but getting to the actual objection, right? So you're clarifying the objection with 2 different options rather than open-ended.
Okay. Then you run that route. Once they say, oh, they'd probably say no to like the price or whatever, and then you point out the fact that they still have a problem with whatever that they pay, and then you go down that route and then close at the end.
What do you do for this objection?
So,
Because this is basically spouse objection. I need to think about it, talk to my wife or my husband, right?
totally. It depends on, so in regards to like our sale, if that's the first, like if I hear it the first time, I just never address any objection that they give. So I always just like check their understanding with the question of like, does it make sense? Do you like the idea?
Oh, sure. Okay.
Because
yeah.
where I like this objection, I follow the same route Braden does, but I just do it later on.
Right.
So right off the bat, I'm going to ask them like, well, do you at least like the idea of my service? Like, does it make sense for you to go with us?
Yeah.
And I gauge it from there. And if their certainty is high, then I'm just going to like do one more loop and then close them again.
Right.
Just assuming that normally that is a objection, like a smoke screen at first. But then I run the same route. I literally run the exact same thing Braden does. Braden also trains me, so it makes sense of why that would be.
And it's very successful.
Very successfully does that. Very successfully.
So here's my problem with this tactic. Well, first of all, this is kind of my underlying issue with people basing their sales scripts on everything Alex Hormozi says. Is like, this is very situational whether this works or not.
100%.
So like the answer to, if the question is, does this work? And the answer is it depends, because if you don't have trust with the customer, like there's no chance this is ever working, ever. And likely the first time you get the spouse objection, you won't have trust with the customer, which is why, to your point, it's good to have a template that you can respond to the objection without having to memorize a bunch of things. But then once you're down the road, like exactly what you do, and I've heard you do this, observing you and also just with your recorded sales, is asking, like clarifying the objection. But it just depends. You should only, I mean, I would only teach a rookie how to even ask that question if they were like doing really well already, and if they were running into the spouse objection like 3 or 4 objections deep after they've already asked for price or asked for the sale. So it kind of depends, I think.
Yeah, after they understand the basic psychology of a sale, like after the first few months, even like a second year rep maybe, but like I don't even go very in depth with people unless they understand the psychology of sales, even just like a certain extent. So I personally wouldn't even do that. But
well, and when you're using it, it's always like you have rapport with the customer. They already trust you, and so then it makes sense to be like, well, would you rather? What are your two options? It's
would they say no to the service, or more likely say no to the price?
Yeah,
right. Because I've also teed myself up like 4 or 5 cycles before that, so that way I know which one they'll give me. That way I actually can take them to a certain close and get the deal. Yeah,
and that's huge, because it's, again, like kind of my beef with even just the TikTok sales tips in general is like, it's like, oh, this one hack will just save your sales. And it's like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, and my thought with like this, with how situational it is, so to run the route that Braden does and that I run, you have to have like, there has to be certain boxes that are already checked.
Yeah.
Number one, there has to be a ton of rapport with the customer, especially if you're going to ask like, well, would your spouse like say no to more of like the service or the price?
Yeah.
Number one, there has to be rapport. Number two, you had to have used the correct tonalities up to that point. Because you could ask that question and I can tick you off really easily if I don't ask that correctly.
1000%. Yeah. It's like, so, I mean, what is it? Price or service?
And I'm like, cool, have a good day. Boom.
Yeah.
Right.
Instead of like, oh, okay, well, I mean, let me just ask you then, what do you think she'd object to? Is it more the price or like the service? But really, that's only if like they already gave the spouse objection once, you cut through the smoke screen. I mean, I want you to make a good decision. Does it make sense? Do you like, at least like, could you see yourself going with us down the road? And then like another objection later, they're like, no, really, last time I made a decision without my wife, it was bad for me. Yeah. So like I have to ask her first. Then you're like, okay, well, what would she object to? Is it more of the, just so I can understand, right? Because I want to help you make a good decision. Is it more price or service? And
if you're at that point, do you get what I'm saying? If you're already at that point, there's already a foundation of trust with you and the customer. But then also back to the beginning, rapport, you had to have done a good job of presenting like a difference to actually have them continue to listen to you. You had to like keep walls down while you went through your closing cycles. Like there's a lot of things that Braden says he runs. He's like, yeah, I ask these questions. And I think at first I would ask those questions too. And these people will say what Alex is saying, right?
Yeah.
But Alex isn't mentioning like all of the things that he checks boxes for before he asks those questions. Right. So that's why like the pop-up, like use this to get over this objection. It's like, Yes, if you're
flowing.
exact, or if you have already like checked the boxes of like you as the salesman, your service, and then your company, then yeah, go for it. Like
Exactly.
go ask those questions.
And you know that that's an actual objection. How do you know that? It's probably the second time they've said it. 'Cause the first time you just can never actually trust that it.
Yeah.
What's the most easy way to get out of a buying decision? It's like a third party has to make the decision, right?
Yeah.
Finance
Yep.
guy, my wife.
Yeah.
Yep. Financial planner.
I'm not
The finance wife. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I think that's really, really powerful. And dude, TikTok.
It's interesting that he didn't, because I know that Alex usually follows like the straight line method, or at least he claims to in some of his companies, in one of them at least. So it's interesting that he maybe didn't mention any aspect of it within that.
right.
He's trying to be him.
That is
Trying to
true,
be his
actually.
own
He's trying to create his own content.
But I don't know if he does follow that.
I don't think so. I'm not sure that he actually does, because I don't know. I haven't done enough of a deep dive to know what his sales methods really are.
Yeah.
But the videos that I see of him lead me to believe that he might be unconsciously competent, meaning he doesn't quite understand like the methods that are really at play while he's giving these certain sales training principles. I think there might be a video here I could show you guys, but I even saw him mimic Jordan Belfort. He's like, "Mo, my favorite quote from Jordan Belfort is like, does that sound fair?"
Yeah.
And then JB roasted him because he's like, "You don't get it, bro. It's not the words. It's the way I'm saying them." And he wasn't like saying them right.
Yeah. Which I think that's actually, so if we were like going to critique even deeper, very few of the TikTok videos are like one-off sales tips. Very rarely do they even talk about tonalities.
Right.
And that for me, like understanding that, even just in normal conversation, has made like a huge difference.
Massive.
Yeah.
And I think like that's something that is cool that we talk about and we train on, is like, yes, we have a script, and guess what? Everyone else does too. But we have tonalities to actually set you up for success. I think it's pretty cool.
I found that that's actually helped me like a ton in sometimes even filling the gap with lack of rapport with people. So like if I didn't have rapport going into that objection, like in like the back half of the sale, I could say, well, let me ask you a question. I think I know the answer to it already, but would you say no more to like price or like the service? How does that make you feel when I ask that? You see what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, but it's,
you see what I'm saying?
but also like your tonality is backed by you being a person like in the situation. You actually genuinely care that they like,
You know,
well, what
I
is
really
it?
want to know, because that's the tonality you're using. Is I really want to know. I actually care.
Yeah.
Which is why it's called that. It's like I really want to know / I care. And so you can use it in that way very effectively. It's like listen, I think I know the answer. I'm not quite sure, but I genuinely want to know.
Exactly. Boom. Question.
And when you don't say those words, right, which is what you're so good at, it's like,
The unspoken.
would it be more the price or the service for her? And when you ask it that way, then their mind doesn't understand the message like explicitly, but subconsciously that message is, dang, this guy actually really cares about understanding why I can't make this decision without my wife. But again, that's assuming that is actually the real objection, and you just don't know that unless you have rapport.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Exactly.
we could go hard on that, but let's go to a different. Okay,
Those
so
ones are fun. I liked that one. That objection itself, I like talking about that one because I think a lot of people address it too soon.
way too soon.
I don't want like right off the bat, if you're asking them, it's like, hey, now you're just digging your heels into a fake objection, and you're gonna have to like do a ton of work to dig yourself out of
Or
it.
Stonewall till what is it, number
and
3 or
you know
4?
what I think is really happening actually when you address an objection too early without knowing if it's real is the customer has a really good reason to view you as incompetent. Because so follow me here. Like if I'm in a sale, right, and let's say we're on a doorstep and it's only been like a minute. Okay. I do my presentation. They're listening still. I can tell they might want it. They ask the price. I give the price, and they're like, you know what? Leave me with the card. I'll get back to you. We're just not ready to make a decision yet. So, or if they give a real smoke screen, which is just leave me with the card. I need to talk with my wife. Okay. If I say, well, listen, last thing I want is you to be sleeping on the couch over pest control. And what would your wife object to? Is it more price or the service? It's like he doesn't even know enough yet.
Yeah.
And he knows that he doesn't know enough yet. And he also knows that objection is not real. So by me pretending that it's real and addressing it, I'm validating that I think it's real, which means that he just won.
Therefore revealing your level of incompetence.
Exactly. So all he has to do is a couple more objection hops and I'm out. Like he knows it's like if this guy doesn't leave right now, all I just have to do is tell him a couple more smoke screens because he believes the first one.
Yeah.
And so like he's not going to actually address it, which means now I can just get out of this easy. So that's why people objection hop in my from a psychology standpoint. It's like they know they already won and they're just a couple objections away from getting you to leave. If you address it right away. But if you don't address it, then you show how competent you are, because you're like, hey, I want you to make a good decision, man. So like whatever that looks like, take your time. But let me just ask you, like, based on everything I've said, how does it feel? Yeah. Like, could you see yourself at least going with me down the road? And it's like, yeah, I mean, it sounds fine. It's like, okay, now I know I can, and I can be productive.
Yep.
But if I jump too soon into addressing the objection, it's like the customer doesn't know he's thinking this, but the customer is basically like, I got him.
Yeah.
So I'm just a couple more objection hops away from getting.
You got to keep doing this until he gives up.
Yep. Because you fell for it. You took the bait.
That's interesting. I think there have been times where I've addressed objections early, and then it makes sense why I'm like, why can't I like move them along this line of certainty at any point? It's because they're objection hopping, and I'm doing the same thing, and I'm like, all we're doing is just arguing about like it's not getting anyone anywhere.
Into an argument. Okay, so this one of my favorite things the sales trainers do on TikTok is never say these words.
Oh, let's go.
You guys already know how I feel about this, but let's see.
I think we have a couple of those in our industry too. I wonder what these ones are.
It's like every sales trainer has the next best thing that's like, never say these words. I'm like, oh shoot, I never thought of that.
3 words you should never, ever, ever say in your business.
Number 1, sorry. Never say the word sorry. Sorry makes it look like it's your fault. Sorry is a negative experience. We don't want to have anything to do with that. Next time you want to say sorry, don't. Keep the energy positive. Say, thank you for sharing that, and move on. Number 2, better. Instead, use the word different. When someone asks you, why are you better than the competition? Say, better would imply that we have the same surface. What we offer is entirely different. Now they're interested.
You just said better,
Discount. Though. Instead, use the word offer. Discount implies cheap. We don't want to be cheap. You don't want cheap associated with your product or service ever.
Okay, so never say.
You should never, ever.
So you said never say these 3 words. What was it? It
was sorry, better, and discount.
And discount. Well, let's start with you, Braid. Are there words you should avoid in sales, and how much do the words actually matter in your experience? And this is coming from a guy that's made multiple 6 figures, multiple years in a row.
Made a lot of bag, a lot of sales, and he's trained a lot of salesmen to do it too.
Well, yeah, you've not only trained sales reps at a high level, but you perform with them in the field at a higher level than all of them.
Yeah.
For now, I'm curious your opinion on this.
Yeah.
The don't say certain words philosophy.
I mean, we should like insert the video of me doing that role play my second summer where it's like so cringy.
Your first summer you sold 500?
Yeah, we should like insert that right now, because like you can see the words I'm saying and how I'm saying it. Just didn't align. But what I'm saying is, I don't know if the words actually so much matter, but the way in which you say them, I think matters even more, and how it comes across to the potential customer, to the person behind the door. I oftentimes feel like people get sales using way like maybe, I don't know, 80% different words than I use. Mm-hmm. But the end goal is to get the deal, and they get it.
Yeah.
But maybe we just set our words like to take them down that emotional path.
Yeah.
To have them be in a position to make a buying decision. So I don't know if the words matter so much. There are words that I wouldn't use. There are words, but these ones here, I don't know if I agree with them, but
what words would you avoid that are like negative trigger words to use, and why?
Any word where it like, unless permission is given, which I'll circle back and you'll understand that, but any word where it's negative about the service or company that they use.
Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, that's a great example of like something scripting wise you should avoid.
Yes. Yeah. So that's like I don't know. That's like, yeah, it's scripting wise. I don't have one particular word for that, but just that piece in general. I normally avoid those things at all costs. Unless permission's granted, then it's like, I'm going. Like I'm full sending it if they give me permission through their own words that it's okay. Right. Like, oh, this X company does this and then they express some negative emotion with it. It's like green light.
Yeah.
So then I'll go and I'll bag on them too.
Backpack on it.
And exactly. Then I'll move on to mine.
Sure. Interesting. Yeah. I because, I started off by saying I have this idea of like somehow avoiding certain words is going to dramatically help your sales pitch. I don't think it actually has weight. However, like, are words important? Yes, they are, but they're only as important as your ability to say them correctly.
Yeah.
And meaning like with the proper tonalities and conveying the proper message. So These ones specifically, like, dude, I think I say sorry in every one of my sales pitches.
Yeah,
like at the very beginning, dude, I'm so sorry to bother you.
Sorry,
I know it's been a long day.
I literally think I say it almost every door. Sorry.
That's what I was thinking too. I was like, I mean, now would I teach a rookie to say sorry in his pitch? Probably not, but mostly because he probably wouldn't say it the right way. You know? Yeah. Dude, listen. No, you hate. I hate door-to-door sales, and I'm so sorry to be that guy right now. But can I just ask you a question real quick? Do you happen to know who the neighborhood provider is?
Yeah, but you can say that because if you notice, like, your tonality changes there, right?
Yeah.
You, depending on the like salesman's competency level and his like ability to control his emotions and his state, you can't give him those words because oftentimes they're gonna sound like they're dead when they're saying them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like they're gonna be very like monotone and like, yeah, man, I'm just like really sorry to be here.
Sorry.
And it's like, okay, well, yeah, you hate to be here, so you're
or
right.
begging, which is even worse, right? It's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
But the interesting thing, I think that's why. So as Braden was answering, I don't think the words that he mentioned, sorry,
better,
and discount. So I think the words, like you said, the words don't matter, but the idea, like you mentioned. So sorry, I think the reason that he mentions that is because that the idea, not the word, but the idea is coming across as a beggar.
Yeah.
So yes, we do want to avoid that.
Yeah.
But saying sorry doesn't elicit everyone to think that you're a beggar, right? It's the way you say, it's your body language, how you show up on the door.
Yeah.
And then the other one, better, once again, I don't think it matters if you say that word or not.
It's the idea.
But the exact thing that Braden said, if you're saying something that triggers them to question their decision-making ability in the past, you're going to want to avoid that because you're asking them to make a decision now.
Right.
So, like, I think that's the idea. Do I think this guy's way off the mark? Actually, no. But I think the way he presented it just wasn't very well thought out.
Well, and that's the thing with all these videos about don't avoid this word in sales. It's like they're basically getting at what you said, which is these ideas don't play well psychologically when trying to get someone to make a decision.
Yeah.
But they don't understand that mechanism. And so instead it's like, just avoid these trigger words. You know?
Yeah.
Like I watched a video by Jeremy Miner recently where he was saying, never say this word in the first 5 seconds of your sale. Instead do this. And he went on to like it was like avoid saying the word follow up, I think. I'm just calling to follow up.
I've heard that one a couple times too. I've heard a couple
too. Dude, and here's the thing is like you could use the word follow up in a way that is like really compelling if you say it right. But just this blanket statement of never say the word follow up, I think it actually misses the point of what works and what doesn't.
Would you agree, Hayden, that like that generalized sales words or scripts, it's dangerous to like generalize those as a whole across the whole industry or even like an entire company?
Is it problematic to have like a script that's so general that it applies to everyone? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, pretty much. So basically my question is like these generalized things that are being posted or shared.
Yeah.
Do you, or even if anybody has a generalized word for word, don't step outside of this.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a sign of like basically lack of like competency of the sale? Of
like the person writing the script or of this or like how sound the actual script itself
I would
is?
say the second.
I think the problem you run into with having sales training that's so general that it could apply to everyone is that you end up missing unless it's really hitting home on like human psychology and like underlying decision-making factors. Like how do I get anyone to make a decision? Because those variables will always line up. I don't know. I just see like sales trainers, they get this idea that their method is like the only one that works and they try to apply it to many industries, not realizing that the things that really work are the underlying principles of psychology of human decision making.
So, okay, that makes sense. So like the things that they're like training on, they're training on this thing, but they don't understand that actually the reason they're training on it is because there's this underlying principle that's being achieved through that thing.
And that's what I think most people miss is like what's really at play while they're doing the things that they're doing.
I think that's why
like a lot of people are good sales reps that are unconsciously competent. Yeah.
That's probably why Russell Brunson's so good at what he does. It's because he just goes to the very root of it, right?
Yeah. And that's why I've always said one of my biggest competitive advantages is that I just sucked so bad. And so like very few people I know we're really good at sucking and really good at winning. And to have that perspective on both sides gives you have to understand the mechanisms in order to get good if you've sucked. Which is like the underlying principles at play.
Sorry, I kind of took you down a rabbit hole.
No, that's an interesting concept. Okay, let's go to this one. The real reason. oh, dude, this one's actually.
So did I read ashwagandha?
Ashwagandha. That's the one we were going to do. We'll do that one on a different one.
Ashwagandha? You take ashwagandha?
Oh, okay. So maybe this isn't sales principle, but I actually want to ask you guys about. Let's watch this.
No.
I want to get you guys to be on Liver King. So when I was 21 years old, I had big dreams of a few things. Becoming a millionaire by the time I was 30. That was a big goal of mine. I wanted to own my own business, and I wanted to create financial freedom through investing in real estate, startups, any other type of vehicle that would give me passive income so that I could really provide for my family and my parents in a significant way because of how much they sacrificed for me growing up. I didn't grow up in the most well-off household, and so I really wanted to create a life for my family that they could be comfortable. I'm a grandchild of immigrants, and I had a lot of people in my life that came before me that have sacrificed a ton to create the good things that I have. I wanted to create financial freedom so that I could give back and serve significantly. I thought I was going to do that by, first off, playing football in the NFL. I obsessed over football growing up, but then I quickly got cut from my college team upon arriving, basically. So then I thought I was going to do that by getting into a prominent business school and excelling there, and then, getting a high-paying job out of college. And I didn't get into any of the business schools that I applied for, and there were more than one. So I had some, learning disabilities and a couple other things that felt like held me back in that way. Bottom line, it just didn't work. So after all the failed attempts to make money and try to achieve my dreams early, I was basically desperate and just really didn't think that it would all work out. I was doing a bunch of these hourly jobs and barely making ends meet and donating plasma, all the things you do when you're a poor college kid. I had a friend approach me and say that he had made $50,000 doing a sales job during the summer in between semesters. And he was a really well-known and highly prominent athlete. I had grown up hearing about how good he was at football. And so we became friends after I got home from a mission for my church. I just trusted him. So I looked into it. I ended up doing this sales job thinking that it would just be a better way to hold me over while I really figured out how I was going to provide financially for my family and really make a big dent in my dreams. Fast forward a few years later, I was with the same company doing that job over and over again while I was going to school, making hundreds of thousands of dollars, and now coaching and teaching other people how to do the same thing. It completely changed my life in a way that I did not expect, learning how to persuade and influence people at a high level because you practice that day in and day out. That translated over into every other relationship and aspect of my life that I care more about than just sales. And then obviously financially being able to get well ahead of all of my peers and the other people who were not willing to make those sacrifices of doing that sales job during the summer in the off months of school. And then fast forward even more ahead, I was able to become a millionaire by 26 and have a multiple $1 million net worth by the time I was 30, upwards of $10 million plus, and invest in real estate early on in my 20s, be able to give back and help pay for mission trips and do service opportunities that I just otherwise wouldn't have had. But what I'm most proud of is being able to give my family, my parents, my wife, my immediate family the life that they just really never had growing up. Because I think deep down we all want to be the type of people that when all is said and done, we actually have made a difference in other people's lives. And I feel like that's actually really the deep result of what this job ended up doing for me in a way that I just did not expect. Long story short, I'm obsessed with teaching the same things to other people. And since I have gotten to management and now I'm a partner in our company, I've been able to work with upwards of over 1,000 sales reps who are young, ambitious, college age kids mostly, who start doing this job just to pay for school, but end up finding out that it's highly impactful for every other aspect of their life. So right now we are hiring and we have limited spots available to take on of people. So if you're interested, there's a link in the description of this video or in my bio. You can check that out, apply and see if you're a good fit or a candidate for this job. We have personality profiles that can match you with income and earning potential that is very much historically accurate of people that have gone in our program before. And if you take the leap of faith and at least learn about whether this could be a good fit for you, I think you're going to be not only really impressed, but if your results are even half as good as what everyone else has gone through this program has experienced, the only problem that you'll have is that one, you didn't know about this sooner, and two, that you didn't sign up and try to do it yesterday. All right, so give it a shot. Check out the link in my bio, and I'll see you guys in the rest of the episode.
I basically, I'm roommates with the guy who's like 10 years behind him.
If this was his dad.
Cole looks like Liver King.
Cool, Alan.
Literally what I just said.
Man.
Okay, so this is Liver King. I don't know. I don't think this has anything to do with sales. Maybe we can pull out some principles from it, but let's watch this.
It was a mountain.
Primal
need to know how hard Liver King Chef Lionel works on Saturday.
I'm Liver King Chef Lionel, and here's what I made for dinner tonight. Of course, we have our bone marrow. We got our liver because liver is king. We have our testicles because who needs vegetables? And you got testicles. Aside from that, we have a whole roasted skin on, stuffed lamb. This is going to be stuffed with rice, potatoes, some Oregon, and some Mediterranean seasoning as well.
Oh, he stuffed
Aside from
that.
we're going to have an Oregon ratatouille. It's like a regular ratatouille.
Ratatouille.
Of course, with
There we go. Now you're speaking my language.
Oregon ratatouille.
and testicles. We have
Oh,
our yogurt
testicles,
sauce,
dude.
everything I just
Second round.
mentioned. And aside from that, we have our guacamole. We have our carbs on top of carbs, and then we have our burgers.
you guys know
with
that Liver
cheese on
King's
top.
companies do
That's what we're
100
having for
million
dinner
plus a year
tonight.
in revenue?
Liver King Chef Lionel.
I did know that actually.
Companies.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
several-
like,
they sell
I'm
his
not a
supplements.
big Liver King fan in terms of like, I don't think people should be following this type of lifestyle. Nor actually, that's not even the real point. How would you follow this type of lifestyle? Actually, like what he's claiming is the thing to like the key to happiness and
What is he for? Is like the 7 pillars of
Ancestral-
ancestral health or
knowledge
something
and
like that?
yeah. How's somebody supposed to do that?
I don't know.
Just buy my supplements, Talon.
It's
That's
not
how you do it.
scalable.
How do you get to where you should go? It's through my vehicle.
Me,
right?
yeah,
My-
exactly.
my
So
vehicle.
I'd look at Liver King. I'm like, dude, I kind of hate this stuff, but like, I'm very fascinated by how good he is at branding.
He definitely.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're sitting here in Utah talking about him, right? Like, apparently he's doing something right.
We're having for dinner tonight.
We're
Liver
doing
King Chef
something.
Lionel.
Thoughts on Liver King?
He's massive.
He's so big, dude.
He's a mountain.
So what I find really interesting about this is like, you said the last thing he said was bond, which implies I think relationships and like improving relationships. It's like everything that people are obsessed about and focused on as a pillar of their be the best version of you very rarely has anything to do with meaningful relationships. You go do all the things that Liver King's saying is like, okay, well, if you've got a wife and kids and a meaningful career, how does that fit into that?
Yeah.
Like at the end of your life, are you going to be happy that you could work out 5 times a day and eat liver all day? Or I don't know. I have a lot of thoughts on that, but
Yeah.
is he natty or is he not?
Look at his abs. I'm going to let you answer your question.
Dude.
Oh.
I mean, I've been accused of taking steroids in my lifetime. And so
Yeah.
That guy's not
I
natty.
don't have much of a reaction to him just because I just don't want to give him that time, so I'm gonna move on.
I think what he has done is pretty impressive when it comes to like a marketing
Building his
branding
companies,
standpoint.
I'll acknowledge that.
Yeah, because he just funnels
How many
everybody to
companies
his.
does he have? I'll acknowledge that.
Yeah, he just
It's like-
funnels everyone to his products.
Do you know how many companies he owns? It's like 4 or 5, but they all kind of are under that umbrella of the ancestral living thing.
One of them sells his supplements. The other one sells his
Protein, right? He does do protein.
yeah, he does all
pre-workout,
kinds of
all that
stuff.
stuff. So.
Yeah. He got his start in medical sales.
Oh, interesting.
dental device
Are there
sales.
photos of him on the internet before he was Liver King?
4 businesses started.
4, that's right. Yeah.
So he's
They do
doing-
100 million plus, right? Or maybe it was 500 million. I don't remember.
Is he doing $500 million a year?
Ooh. I don't know. It's very possible.
Does he own 100% of each one?
Yeah, they're privately owned and by him and his wife. I
That's
watched the
so
podcast.
cool.
I'll have to send it to you guys with Graham
I
Stevens.
mean, he's at every UFC fight. Like they always
Is he actually?
They always show him. Yeah,
Really?
I would
He's the one that
imagine.
was in Dubai. Recently.
I would imagine there's a partnership there of some kind, don't you think, or a potential?
Probably.
I don't know. I mean, he probably just got Dana White to try some liver and also some testicle, probably.
I listened to his podcast he did with on the Iced Coffee Hour, and they were asking him about some of his business background and stuff, and really interesting, like how his sales background played into this, how good he is at branding.
Between the 4 businesses, he rakes in over 100 million a year.
100 million a year.
Four, dude.
I mean,
That's awesome.
He's
good night, dude.
Substantially more revenue than I'm currently producing. So respect in that regard, totally.
How old is he?
35, 40, something like that.
Fact checker, Jornba.
Bjornba, dude, we need to get a mic over on Bjorn. We had planned to do that at one point.
I was gonna say, and then we should have a camera that can flip to him too.
Nah.
Born April 7th, 1977.
Oh,
77.
geez, dude.
so
So
wait.
he's
Was he 50
So-
plus?
50, 45. Yeah.
Good on
I
him.
mean,
Jeez.
there you go. Okay, let's. This one's a Jordan Belfort one. I think
Oh,
you guys
there
might
we
find
go.
this interesting.
JB.
My friend,
JB in
but
the
distant
house.
acquaintance now.
You guys have both. No, did you meet Jordan? No.
Yeah.
Braden you had a sale analyzed by Jordan.
I did.
In person.
Did you really?
I did.
Dude, he freaking loved it. Yeah, we were sitting there and
I recorded a sale.
So he recorded a sale.
And it was like multiple rounds too of me like using exactly what I had learned from him, and he was like eating it up.
Dude, he loved it. It was wild because we were sitting. Jordan was like right here. You were right there.
Yeah.
I was like probably right here.
Yep.
And he just wanted to know like what are you guys actually saying when you go really deep into a sale? And he just loved Braden's. It was like he loved it, dude.
That was the day I knocked 28 houses.
And what did you sell? Like 11 of them? 12 of them?
I sold, was it 14 that day?
Yeah, it was like 14, and then you closed mosquitoes on top of the 14.
Yeah, that was.
Look, this is
because
like
you knew he was coming in.
But it's like a normal.
I was trying to beat Hayden's record of like 17 or 18.
It's like a normal occurrence.
That's no
for you,
record.
though.
I was
It's not-
trying to beat.
This isn't anything new for Braden to do either.
No.
He'll show me his map. Right, we have the app that we use that shows the houses that we're knocking, and he's like, yeah, look at how many houses I worked today. And it'll literally be like 15 houses. And he'll come home with like 10 or 11 sales.
Yeah.
And he's like, I was just circling the neighborhood waiting for people to get home because I knew I could close them. I just need to talk to them. And I was like, dude, I was sprinting between doors trying to get as many opportunities as I can.
I can't all be as talented as Braden Connor.
No. Braden just shoves his foot in his heels in the ground on their porch though. And he just doesn't
you're
leave.
freaking persistent.
I think that's
you're
one
really
thing.
good at like applying basic things consistently. And doing them like at a really high level.
Yeah.
But it was cool because it was like, my favorite texts from Braden during the summer are knocked 12 houses today, and I look down at the leaderboard and he's got like 8 sales. I'm like, jeez, dude.
It's like, well,
or like you'll train with like 3 or 4 reps and then barely get on the doors at like 6 p.m. And
Yeah.
you still come
those
out
are
for
the
10
best
days.
ones when
Those
he texts like in our group chat or Voxer, whatever we're using, and he's like, all right, getting on the doors, and it's 7, and then 8:45, 9, 9:30 rolls around, it's like 7, 8,
It's
9,
like-
and we're like, what is this guy?
Yeah, it's like when you play. I've never done this before, but when you play slots in Vegas and like the quarter slots,
Yeah, seriously.
and they finally hit, it's just all at once.
But I do think that is one cool thing Braden does, leading from the front. Like, I know that's a phrase that like a lot of people will throw around, and I think like from just being on his team 2 years in a row now, like he's done. The first year he had more reps, he was directly training. But then this last year it was more of like administration stuff he was doing with some of the other teams.
Yeah.
But I mean, the guy very rarely will knock a full day, but consistently in the company's leaderboards he'll be at the top.
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you lead from the front? It's like, well, ask this guy
Exhibit A.
because he's doing something right.
Yeah.
At least from my perspective. I would say.
1,000%.
Open up your mouth. You got 4 seconds. And if in those first 4 seconds you don't establish 3 things, let me tell you what they are. You got 4 seconds of a conversation. 4 seconds. You got to establish number
just
1
wait.
that you are sharp as attack. Sharp as attack. It's got to come out right away. Number 2, that you're
Expert in your field.
enthusiastic as
Oh,
hell.
whoops, expert's the third.
Yeah.
Enthusiastic as hell. And number 3, and I said it before,
And I'll say it
I'm gonna
again.
say it 10 more times, and I'll make you say it out loud. You gotta be perceived as an expert in your field. 4 seconds to
Because like what do we say? Competent, confident, service professional, right?
Yep.
Sharp as a tack, enthusiastic, and expert.
perceive sharp on the ball, enthusiastic. It must be good. Nothing sells like enthusiasm.
Okay, so that's like great, right? But like, how does that look in a sale, especially in cold calling? Because I think it's actually easier to do this on the phone, personally.
I think so too. There's less variables in it, right?
Yeah. You don't have to worry about positioning your body language, how you really feel or look to a customer. It's all about just your tone of voice and what that gives across. But what do you think, Brady? How does this look? How do you achieve this in 4 seconds on a doorstep?
Yeah. Well, first, I think he built this not in the paradigm of like cold contacting, like thinking about cold contacting. Like he built his sales training based off of, I know the transfer of motion, I get it, but also he built it thinking about how he could do penny stocks, right? Wasn't that what it was?
Right.
And
You mean so in versus like
cold contacting,
like in person, door to door?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
He built it different, so I think it is different. So I'm sorry to go back to your question. How does this relate to like us door to door in the first 4 seconds?
Yeah. What do you do in the first 4 seconds to like win someone's trust or be perceived as those things?
Oh, they've known me for forever. Like they know me for forever is number 1. Oh, sorry. The answer is it depends.
Yeah.
Sorry, it depends. So like I am whatever they need me to be in that moment, and it just depends. If I'm in a different type of neighborhood where it's maybe more upscale, like $2, $3, $4 million homes, I'm gonna act different.
In the way you relate to them in the first
way that I
4 to
relate
7
to
seconds.
exactly. Right. The answer is it just depends on where I'm at. Like I change to the need of my situation.
Okay. So if like you're in a neighborhood that is more wealthy, like how is your first 4 seconds different than if it's like more of a middle class neighborhood?
Middle class, I can get away with a lot more jokes, like a lot more like smiling.
Can be drawn out.
And I can even speak a lot slower in middle class. With like upper class, I tend to speak a little bit faster,
to the point,
more to the point, only smiling when they smile, like, or if I'm trying to like, if I know that they're cool and they just have a front on, just try to break it and let them know that I actually see it subconsciously. That way they start to be cool with me. So that's how I would act, just a little bit different, just even those two.
Yeah.
But
that's interesting though, viewing it through the lens of like, no matter where you are, you have to achieve this perception of being sharp, enthusiastic, and competent, or an expert, really competent, right?
Yeah.
And so how you do that might take a different like look wherever you are, but if that's the lens that you view your training through, it's like, okay, cool. Well, in a wealthy neighborhood, being perceived as sharp is actually respecting someone's time. So you're going to want to be more concise, right? Instead of like, oh, I really like your flowers. Like you know,
totally
trying to connect to them in that way.
Yeah, the icebreakers change for sure.
Yeah, odds are they don't even know what type of flowers they have in their beds.
Nor do
they hired someone to go put those.
Nor
in
do
there.
they really care what.
Nor do they care. They had no idea what's put there, unless. Yeah, sometimes they do. You can tell with certain types of people, but I mean, a majority, like, yeah, no, they have no idea, or they don't even care what's out there. But one thing I would add is like, in the first 4 seconds, one thing I always try to remember is, I'm only as good and as sharp as the last guy that was there. And so, whenever I go and knock a door, even if like a guy was in that neighborhood or whomever was in that neighborhood a day previous, I need to come off better in every way, where it's like
oh, so you're better. So you're saying that like people will only perceive you
as the previous
before
guy.
You start talking, really, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, before you start talking, as good as the previous guy was, or their last interaction with them.
Yeah.
So maybe even the average of all their interactions with people like you.
That's with my tone, my pitch, my attitude, like how like I'm projecting, how I'm mirroring people, like
interesting.
All of that comes together in my first 4 seconds. So I just like to sum that all up. I just put it as I need to be better than whoever was last on this door. Like if they have a sign that is definitely from a company that goes door to door and sells things, I have to be better than that guy in order to make it make sense for them. So that's just something that I keep in mind in the first 4 seconds is they need to view me as better than that last guy. That way they give me the time of day because they've done it before. Odds are they can do it again if I'm good enough.
Yeah, 100%, dude. I love that.
I did a lot.
I love picking Braden's brain on this stuff because like the way you see the sale is so different for every person that you really can customize things in like real time for those people.
Yeah,
which is really, I mean, there are templates that can get you to, you know, making 6 figures pretty easily with us, but like when you're up at your level, being able to customize is like really important. What are your thoughts on like how do you achieve the first 4 to 7 seconds of sharp, enthusiastic, competent?
So for me, I try to keep things simple when it comes to this, especially.
Yeah.
So I always have been a big fan of like very, very slow, controlled body movement. That helps me come across as like a professional.
Yeah.
Like I've been there before. I've done this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Enthusiastic. I literally. Do you sound enthusiastic? Right?
Yeah.
Like, do you sound happy or relatively happy to be on their doorstep?
Because you don't want to be... So, like, enthusiasm is not going to be portrayed through body language. Like, you run the risk of actually being fidgety and too fast.
Then that breaks...
It's really about your voice.
Exactly.
Enthusiasm.
So, I think those are the biggest things.
Sorry, I take that back. Like, facial expressions have a lot to do with enthusiasm, too.
Yeah.
But, I mean, gesticulations and movement don't have much to do with it.
Yeah. So I think that's the biggest thing. The basic things for me, like it's obviously like your body language, slow and controlled. Your eye contact. Right?
Yeah.
Basically, just I like to see those three things as the things not to do. Right. So how would I not be perceived as an expert? Okay. Well, I would probably be shuffling. I would probably be like having body language that's across my body to give them an idea that like I'm hiding something. Right. So it's like, right. And then enthusiastic. How would I be seen as not enthusiastic? Well, that would be through my tone, through my facial expressions. And then how would I not be seen as like an expert? I don't know. I guess that one I haven't really thought too much about, but it's like if I were,
well, so this is a good point because like, someone who's not an expert would spend a lot of time talking to you about things that are completely irrelevant.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like, that's why my problem with like the whole icebreaker, there's a sales trainer in our industry who thinks that he's the absolute shiz. And one of his main tenets is like, you have to have an icebreaker and you always have to talk about something on someone's doorstep with them. It's like, okay, I get it, what you're saying. But what you're really saying is you just need to build rapport with them. And there are way better ways to build rapport than to be manipulative about something that you like on someone's doorstep that you actually don't even care about.
Which may not even be honest.
Most of the time is not. In fact, I've heard this guy train and it is not honest.
Flowers, to be honest with you.
Exactly.
Yeah, but like
but like let's say like I know my wife likes a certain flower or something.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, I'm not trying to waste your time. By the way, my wife actually loves lilies. And I like yours as well. How long have you guys been living in the house? I do pest control, by the way, and I've been helping a few people live more comfortably in their homes because we just find that pest control is not very good out here.
Yeah.
And so if you like high quality stuff like this, I think you could really like our service. What's the square footage here? But like I can easily relevantly tie that back in.
Yeah.
As opposed to just like, hey, I saw you have a...
Bro, I like your truck. Can I buy it?
Truck. I have the exact wall.
No, you don't. You don't have the same truck.
No,
you don't. You do not care about the fact that his daughter graduated from Clemson, unless you do, right?
Yeah, it's like, oh, dude, Clemson. Yeah, that's where my brother goes to school.
That's my great uncle's sink moved because he went to school there.
Which is interesting because
I can't express how much I hate
the very way that some people are trying to build rapport. It's not in line with their integrity, so it actually will break rapport. Like almost always. And I found that because I will say where's the bomb button?
Oh, dude.
But I just feel
I don't want to be that guy, but I have so much to say about that.
About what?
Go. Just keep going. Keep your.
Well, so
let's just say when I shoot the bull with Ed Milet, I got some questions about how he feels about certain people that interviewed him.
So can we jump into that just a little bit?
No, dude. That's as far as I would go. I'm really trying to be a nice guy.
You are a nice guy.
And a good
I'm
guy.
trying.
Yeah.
You're both.
But you want to be seen that way on TikTok
You're
too.
a nice guy.
I would like to be a good guy and a nice guy, both.
Because I know a lot of nice guys.
It's always right. It's like, oh, dude, so and so's a good guy. I'm like, no, you don't know him. Oh, nice guy, maybe.
Nice guy.
I don't know if he's a good guy.
Nice guy.
Good. He's nice on the surface, but once you get to know him, I don't know if he's good, right?
Yeah.
Wait, finish your point. I want to.
Sorry, dude.
So my point, though, one of the things that I worked through this last year was sounding more like myself on the door.
Yeah.
And how I actually did that was a version of an icebreaker, right? But that just allowed me to talk about something besides getting right into our pitch. And then it would allow me to go into what I was saying more naturally.
Right.
And also build rapport. But I found that the days that I was building rapport in regards to this sales trainer that you had mentioned in that way and doing it in that way, it came across as so disingenuous. And it was like, well, 100 doors down at 4:00, right? And I'm like, okay, well, crap. No one's listening to me. And why is it?
That's a day.
It's like, whoa. It's like, why isn't anybody listening to me? It's like, well, because I'm literally the very thing that I'm good at, which is coming across as naturally trustworthy when I'm myself. I feel like I do that very well. I'm naturally doing that. The exact opposite of that by saying an icebreaker about something that I could give two craps about.
Yes.
Because people aren't dumb, right? Yeah. Bro, I love your, just like we just talked about, we went on that rant. Like when you talk about something that you don't actually like, it's so easy to tell.
And the litmus test is if you can do it in a rich neighborhood, it actually is a really good sales principle. So like go ask the guy, like if you're in a rich neighborhood, right? Like, especially like guys that work with us, they're typically grew up in not as well off families.
Yeah.
And so being in rich neighborhoods is actually very much out of their comfort zone.
Yeah.
So then when you see Ferraris, Lamborghinis driving around, or like really nice Benz or whatever, the first thing you want to do, especially if you like cars, is like, dude, I just love your car, like your car. And you might actually mean that, but that's the quickest way to break rapport with someone that you want to actually respect you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that makes sense because it's like you've never
act like you've been there, man.
Exactly.
Come on, man. Act like you've been there.
Exactly.
Act like you've been in
so
that
I've never thought of that actually.
Yeah.
So that's why I think it's important that if there are specific applications of a principle, that it's important to understand what the principle is that is working. So like breaking the ice with someone is an application of a principle. It's not the principle itself. Building rapport is the principle.
Yes.
And there's 10 different ways to get to building rapport. The easiest one, in my opinion, is just tonality, actually.
I'd agree.
It's just asking questions with a very specific tonality and having it relevant to your sale.
I'd agree 100%.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, because it's
Ferrari, man. I love Ferrari.
It's like,
The guy's
what do
like,
you,
"Is that a
what do you, what do you want? That's 100% what you get when you say that in nice neighborhoods. Man, beautiful house. What can I help you with?
Yeah, can I help you?
He's like, yeah, I've lived in a nice house for 25 years. I don't care. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You're only as good as the guy that was there previously.
It's so true. But
And you're only
I think
fat.
that I love this idea though.
Yeah.
Obviously, I've been trained. All of the sales training I've got has come from you guys, which has come from a version of this. So obviously, err on the side of JB always.
It is, it's interesting because, like, you know, a lot of people will look at just let's say my or our sales philosophies and kind of say, oh, this feels like straight line, or NLP actually is really what it is, neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah.
In truth, though, it's a very specific, hyper-focused version of application of a door-to-door sales process with underlying principles of human psychology and decision making.
Yeah.
And it just so happens that JB is actually really good at understanding. But I think Jason Walton's
But also
even
Jason
better,
understood
frankly.
that.
Jason's the OG of this, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like even just our basic training module that we have, the underlying principles there are like match up pretty close.
Yeah.
So
And
like he's
claiming
had it.
that there's someone invented them or whatever. It's like, no, it's just, yeah.
I wouldn't say that.
Okay. So sell me this pen. This is really,
oh my
interesting.
gosh. Yeah.
Dude. Yeah. Piers Morgan's been in the news lately.
Who? Just kidding.
Did you guys watch the Piers Morgan and Andrew Tate interview?
I did. That,
Bro,
that was funny.
talk about like a manipulative interviewer, man. Like, I don't know how I feel about Piers Morgan, but
We see Jordan Belfort sell a pen. Sell me the pen.
I'm going to meet you halfway with this, and I'll give a little sales training here about the trap of selling a pen. So when you tell someone to sell a pen like this, there's no context to sell you a pen because I don't know anything about you. I don't know what type of pens you use and whatnot. So when you do this to a salesperson, they'll say some really wacky stuff. So the best thing to say is I would say to Pierce, how long have you been in the market for a pen?
I've wanted a pen for 3 months.
So you've been looking for a pen for 3 months now?
Yes.
Really? And what type of pens do you typically use when you use a pen?
I like a nice, easy-to-use ballpoint pen or something.
The idea is that when you sell someone something is you need to be asking questions first.
thoughts on this?
The cell pen idea or the principle that he has, or
really any of it. Whatever stands out to you.
One of those guys I don't like a lot. I just don't like his material. But
How masterful at just like skirting around, because Pierce is trying to. So this interview took place right when Jordan Belfort. It was like very shortly after he got out of jail and he started doing tours.
Yeah,
he was teaching sales tactics, and
Yeah.
sales training, which I really wish he would do more of, frankly, because I think he's really good at it. And stop trying to relive his glory days.
Yeah.
He's back on the yacht, man.
Dude, I really liked JV.
I like him.
I still like him. He's funny. And what was I saying? Oh, when he did this interview, so Pierce was trying to trap him the whole time.
Yeah.
About it. And he does it again. He's like, so sell me this pen. And then JV, I just love how he skirts around. He like cuts through the objection. It's like, well, if I could, and then he goes into teaching a principle.
He did like the very thing that he trains on to do, right?
He literally,
Which is
like,
funny.
textbook
Kind of like
exactly what he trained on.
kind of like when you taught us the perfect webinar presentation by giving a perfect webinar presentation. It's like the same idea.
Yeah.
Very meta.
Just masters at their craft.
I just feel like he wasn't truly seeking to hear how he sold or would sell a pen. He was seeking to like box him in here.
And he knows it too. Look at him. Jordan knows what he's doing.
Yeah, he's like,
look at this smirk.
He's funny.
Okay,
I expected this.
I knew I shouldn't have taken this
This
interview.
boof is trying to trap me.
I have a comment on one thing he does that I think is really brilliant.
Freaking boof.
Let me meet you halfway with this, and I'll give a little sales training here about the trap of selling a pen. So when you tell someone to sell a pen,
He calls it out.
He calls it out.
That's
Saying
what's so
it's a
cool. It's
trap.
like about the trap of selling the pen, which you just tried to put me in.
I'm not dumb.
context to sell you a pen because I don't know anything about you. I don't know what type of pens you use and whatnot. So when you do this to a salesperson, they'll say some really wacky stuff. So the best thing to say is I would say to Pierce, how long have you been in the market for a pen?
First off, his tonality there, right? It's like, I really want to know. Hey, first, how long have you been in the market for a pen? I really want to know.
Yeah. You can hear it. Dang.
Does he ask permission to ask a question? Not yet, right? He does it later?
No, but you would say something like this.
In the market for a pen.
I wanted the pen for.
Right here.
So you've been looking for a pen for 3 months now.
Yes.
Really? And what type of pen?
This is interesting too because so I have some like beef with the whole Chris Voss negotiating tactics of like if someone says something you just repeat it back to them. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like it never split the difference.
Yeah.
So when someone's like, you just got to think about it, and then you just literally repeat the words back to them. And you're
You
like,
gotta think about it?
You got to think about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like that would work for criminals.
Joe Rogan does that on his podcast all the time. You've probably seen.
But this one's interesting because he doesn't repeat it perfectly. He reiterates it.
So you've been looking for a pen for 3 months now.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. So you've been looking for a pen for 3 months now. It's like he's like confirming what he just said. But
is he trying to confirm, or is he trying to actually get something real there, or maybe it's him testing or probing?
Well, according to the straight line, what he's doing is actually trying to gauge his certainty.
Which I figured was almost like a check-in again.
Right.
Yeah. He's checking.
Because if he's saying like I'm in the market for a pen, you want to know like how real that actually is. Like, are you actually though?
Yeah.
That's kind of what you're asking with that. It's like, oh, so you know.
I think it's funny too the way that he reaffirmed it after addressing that it was a trap. Right. It's almost like he's just playing chess. Jordan is.
It's really good.
Yeah. It's actually brilliant. Now that I think about the way he rephrased it, it's like, oh, so you've been in the market for.
So then
after that, or?
I think he does. He asks permission to ask questions, which is a cool principle too that works really well.
I wanted the pen for 3 months.
So you've been looking for a pen for 3 months now.
Yes.
Really? And what type of pens do you typically use when you use a pen?
I like it at nice.
Again, asking permission to ask questions, or not asking. What am I saying? I really want to know tonality.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but so
what kind of pen do you typically use?
Did he use ballpoint pens?
The idea is that when you sell someone something, is you to be asking questions first.
Never mind. He doesn't ask permission to ask questions.
No, there's no permission seeking here.
But that's interesting though, in the sense that like this is the front half of the sale still, which is you're funneling questions from broad questions to short. You have to gain that information, right?
Yeah. He's gathering intel. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what he's doing.
Gather intel.
Interesting intel.
So I think that video actually kind of like ties back to the first video we watched for like the spouse objection, right?
Yeah.
Once it like Jordan goes off and he's like, well, first you need some context, right? So and the spouse objection, right? Ideally, you would have asked beforehand several questions that would, number one, either already give you the answer that Braden talked about.
Dude, yes, 100%.
Or number two, would have, you would have understood that that is not the decision maker.
Yeah.
And if you tested that, revisited it, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm coming back later because I'm not going to sell you because you're literally not the one who makes the decision.
And knowing your sales process, Braid, that makes perfect sense because you're basically like, when you're asking questions at the beginning, you're already asking questions to know whether or not this guy makes the decisions.
Yeah.
And so one, if he does give the spouse objection, you already probably know that it's real, or if he probably just won't even give it anyway, right? Because you've already established that he's a decision maker in your fact-finding intelligence gathering section of the sale.
Yeah. Yes, so that was just one interesting thing. The idea of like, you know, asking the proper questions beforehand to avoid different objections. I think Alex explaining it in that regard could have actually given him a little more validity to like how to overcome the spouse objection.
100%.
My questions also sometimes give permission to make decisions though.
So what do you mean? That's
like
interesting.
My line of questioning in the front half of the sale or even in the introduction oftentimes gives them permission to make a decision with me.
Oh, so like you're leading them to make a decision for themselves rather than like what a lot of salesmen try to do, which is kind of like trap people into a decision or
Yeah, like,
or do you? Am I getting that right?
Yeah. So like, I know we've talked about the spouse objection. What I'm saying is, the line of question that I use, oftentimes, I play it to who they are as a person, which will then let them feel that they can make a decision with me because they can.
Interesting.
Because the fact of the matter is, everybody that opens the door is a decision maker. You just have to make them a decision maker. You have to turn them into one. Like that's my belief, and it served me pretty well.
Yeah.
So I believe that anyone is a decision maker that opens the door, that owns the place.
And there's obvious scenarios in which that wouldn't be the case, but the majority of the time, like, it pretty much is.
This belief serves a purpose.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, my line of questioning just gives them permission to make a decision. So, like, I'm trying to think of like one example that is just very basic. Like I'd say like this, like, again, hey, I think I know the answer to this, but would your spouse be totally like upset if you made a decision with me? I mean, no, right? If you're playing like to a bowl, if you're playing to a bowl, right?
Yeah.
What's he gonna say? No, like no, he's gonna be like, no, he's gonna defend who he is. I'm like, okay, great. I just need your signature here and here.
Right.
So like my line of questioning oftentimes gives them permission or leads them to make a decision. That's what I'm saying. So when anyways, ask
interesting.
Different take there.
Okay, so how are we doing on time?
An hour.
Okay, let's you guys like this? Is this okay?
This is sweet, actually.
Yeah,
I think this is way.
Do you guys want to go sales principles, or should we rate side hustles?
I'm game for either one.
If I'm being honest, I think the rating side hustles might be a little boring.
That's what I just.
You want to do side hustles? Okay, let's do 1 or 2 side hustles.
I flipped a coin.
Actually, let's do. I'm gonna pick a random sales principle here because I don't remember which ones these are.
Wait, sales principle or side hustle?
Sales principle right here.
Let's do 2 more sales principles.
Okay,
and then we'll finish with like 2 side hustle ratings and see how much better door-to-door sales is than that.
Cool, I like that.
Okay, and then we'll wrap it up with that.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
I think I might need to go on a date with my wife tonight based on my. Oh, dude, Andrew Tate. Okay, this is
no.
This is really
good. Bring it on, baby.
See, it's hard to find Andrew Tate giving like sales advice.
Yeah,
but
actually,
this one's interesting.
Usually just giving like alpha advice that is.
No, top G.
What color is your Bugatti?
No, it's Bugatti. There it is. It's Bugatti.
Hey, Kim and Jake Paul are fighting. Did you hear about that?
Yeah.
Tell people they can't have things.
Yep.
All the time I tell people.
Oh my gosh.
You tell people
This is so brilliant.
this is the reality.
Can't have things.
You tell people they can't have things, they want things. This is the reality of the world. Let's say someone calls you to buy, let's say you sell flux capacitors. I'm gonna draw a flux capacitor. Let's say you sell flux capacitors.
My gosh.
I need 2 flux capacitors, please. First thing you say to them is,
no.
oh yeah, sure, okay, no problem. Let me just check and make sure we have some because they've been in high demand at the moment. I think we might be sold out. I'm not sure we have any. What do you need them for? Oh, I actually want to buy them for X, Y, Z. I don't think we have any right now. Let me get back to you. What's your name, number? What just happened in that exchange?
You just lost the sale.
I lied to the customer.
I lied to the customer and I lost it.
2 deal.
Do you want us to go
know
into
if
this?
this was real, but I said it anyway.
Oh my gosh.
Wants the flux capacitor. I am in the middle.
Not the whiteboard.
That exchange, I told him, 1, he may not be able to have the flux capacitors. And 2, I asked him why he needs the flux capacitors. 1, I told him he can't have it. And 2, I asked him why he needs it, to reconfirm in his mind that he needs it. I don't know we have any. Maybe there's something else. And I asked him,
How profound.
Wow.
And I told him he can't have it.
You see the bottom? Millionaire's secrets.
So when people hate, when people say they hate salesmen, this is what they think.
Dude,
of.
yeah.
Come on, Andrew, give us like.
Can you smell it?
Can you what?
Can you smell that?
Bro, I'm just gonna say, this is a perfect example of how you can say you can like dress up any bullcrap like training principle in certainty and it will sound good on its head.
Yeah.
And convince a lot of people that they should be doing it. And it actually might be the very opposite thing that would be good for your integrity.
Yeah.
And
for
but also I think it shows like major incompetence in understanding sales process here.
Yes.
In my opinion.
Big time.
Yeah.
Is that or we don't understand?
Dude,
maybe we're way off the
on another level, bro.
We don't understand, or he's.
I'm gonna default to the kind of the Lever King situation. He does apparently make more money than I do, so I have to give him something.
Yeah, because money is the great measure of how good.
But the integrity here.
So I was a guest on a podcast and they asked me what I thought about Andrew Tate, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was like in early September. It was like early September, right? And they're like, yeah, but like, what if he just measures success differently? And my argument was like, I don't think it's a wise life move to optimize for basing your success in life off of like people following you, basically, or off of like, you know, just like scaled impact or anything that can be easily taken away. And they're like, well, how could it be easily taken away? He's got like, you know, several million like followers across all of these affiliate platforms and channels and stuff. And I was like, dude, I mean, all I'm saying is like, if you base your happiness and your self-worth and your meaning in life off of something that can go away tomorrow, net worth, popularity, even like your relationships, like that's not awesome. You got to have a more solid foundation than that. Yep. And they're like, that didn't really make sense to these guys that I was talking to. Not a week later, he got deplatformed from every platform. And it's like people actively taking down all of his stuff, right? It's like, well, you think that's a wise like life move to like build everything that you're basing your self-worth on off of that? Like, I just don't know.
Hayden, I'm not saying I was right, but you can see what just happened.
I'm also not claiming to be any expert on this stuff either. And I'm
right, but I'm not very wrong right now.
I don't know how I actually really feel about Andrew Tate, except for I think this is just kind of garbage in my opinion.
I think he's good at marketing. I mean,
again,
he's brilliant at marketing.
Brilliant marketing, and his certainty is impressive.
I mean, how many people did he have posting for him? That's what his whole thing was.
Really, though. But he's clearly hitting on some rudimentary things that like resonate with people, obviously. But
yeah. And the way that he like structured his business too, I think it was innovative in regards to like he didn't have to post anything.
Minions.
Like, that's cool.
He was Gru, man.
That is cool. Like, going to make you very proud.
Very proud.
Man.
But like, wait, play the beginning again. You just tell people that they can't have something.
I might tell people they can't have things.
Can't have things. Okay.
You tell people they can't have things. They want things. This is the reality. Let's say someone calls you to buy.
What principle is he really getting at here, though, that actually works? That he's, I don't think, naming in any correct
scarcity,
way.
Right?
Yeah, it's like obviously scarcity.
Yeah.
So
it's just funny. Like
I think it's hilarious. Yeah, and the violin music behind it's even better.
The way that he goes about it too, it's like it's just the reality.
It's just the reality. How would he react if he calls into Bugatti, and they're like, "Oh, sorry, we don't have a Bugatti Chiron for you. Let me get back to you. What's your name? What's your number?
How funny would that be?
Let me get back to you."
I know you
What if they applied exactly what he's trying to teach? Whatever he's teaching.
He's going to find that doesn't work because he's going to then call up the next luxury car brand and just buy a car from them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They'll get the $6 million.
Yeah, I mean, my problems with this are very rarely is that going to be an honest response.
Yeah,
like you can't have it in like artificially manufacturing scarcity. And so you want to have built into your sales process like real scarcity. Like what we do is basically like, no, on my route tomorrow in the most convenient times for you to get serviced, we literally only have these spots open. Yep. And there will be open more later, but like I don't actually know if I'm going to be here tomorrow.
Yep.
It's, you know, I usually spend 2 to 3 days in a neighborhood and I'm on my 3rd day. So there's a chance I'll be here tomorrow, chance I won't. But they are going fast and there are limited spots right now with how well we're selling out here. It's just the truth.
Yeah.
So if you can manufacture scarcity in there, then yeah, that's the same principle of saying you can't have something or whatever, right? Also, I just think this is way different in a cold call. Like this is a very low level skill because it's like someone's already calling and asking questions.
It's like, why would you? Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think I gained anything from this video.
Yeah, I did gain several things.
Dead brain cells.
It like basically it backpacked on Ed Milet's idea of and Tim Hedrick talked about it. Hayden's talked about it. Everybody's talked about it. I think in sales, where it's like you don't need to believe it. They just need to believe that you believe it. When it comes to like the transfer of certainty, right?
Right. Yeah.
Like there's some sucker out there who's using that exact thing, and if he's using it confidently, it actually might work.
Right.
But he's using it because Andrew Tate basically delivered it with a certain level of certainty to have them believe it.
And then that begs the question, like, just because it works doesn't mean it's actually right. Should you actually do it?
That's a really good point.
That's the real question is like, okay, a number of tactics can actually work, but if they don't have an underlying level of honesty and like real morals behind them, then I mean, what are we even doing?
What are you after?
It's like I think it's a terrible way to go about it.
I'm excited for this one.
Turn that volume.
Who's this one?
This this is okay. Just so you guys know, this is the most powerful sales tactic ever. All right.
So this will.
Oh my gosh.
It would have been better if he would have said how to 5x your income. That would have hooked more people. I'm telling you.
Nope, it's the most powerful sales tactic ever.
Fire emoji.
The most powerful sales technique I've ever found.
Oh my gosh, I've watched this.
All right.
In my sales career that has literally been responsible.
I don't know who this is, by the way.
I'm also going to give you some examples towards
Hundreds
the
of
end.
millions of dollars.
And the technique is this. It's using analogies during your sales calls. And here's why it's so
Oh, what? I never thought of this.
If I say pink elephant, you do not think about the words. What you see is an image of a pink elephant. So if the brain...
So already this is not actually true.
Hold on.
It depends on your personality, actually, of whether or not you are image dominant in your thoughts or word dominant.
Really?
Yeah.
Pink elephant. So if the brain understands everything we're saying in images, it makes sense to put what you're trying to sell and the things you're trying to explain and get context over into images. So it works a bit like this. Let's say during a sales conversation, somebody is really pushing you on price. They don't want to go through your process. They're just like, how much does it cost? Tell me what the cost is. You're saying, well, look, Dave, I'd love to tell you the cost, but we've got a range of services. And at the moment, I don't know what problems you may or may not have to know if even what we do.
I think that's actually a decent response to someone that rushes you into price.
Pretty similar to what we trained on to do as well.
Yep. Yeah.
I don't even know if my service is for you.
Yeah, I mean, it may not even be a good fit.
Would fix it. Dave's playing hardball. He's going, look, I don't care about any of that. Just give me the cost. What works really well here is to use an analogy, which would sound something like this. Dave, look, if you went to a garage or a mechanic and said, how much to fix my car, what would he tell you? Dave's probably going to say, well, I don't know. Exactly. That's the point. The mechanic needs to do some research. He needs to have a look under the bonnet. He needs to figure out what's going on before he can give you a price. Same thing here. The reason this works so well is because it takes your scenario and it puts it in another scenario, makes sense in the prospect mind. If you want to make more money in sales, start taking those scenarios and transferring them into analogies and pictures that your prospect will understand. Follow for more sales advice.
I see why
Thoughts on
he
this?
did that. I see why he does it.
I see, like, I think even I've used a version of it at times, never consistently, because I do feel like it's usually a cop-out when I'm in a situation where I'm like...
Using an analogy?
Yeah, when I'm like, oh, I actually don't know where else to go. So I'm like, well, let's come up with an analogy. It's never, ever planned, I don't think.
Sure.
But I don't want to speak for Braden, but I do know Braden has had some analogies that actually work extremely well in some instances.
Yeah, and when do you use them? What are they and when do you use them?
Oftentimes it's value-driven. So it's when to help people understand difference in value. Help paint a picture for people.
Yeah.
Sometimes with that, or it's price as well, because oftentimes our service is priced more, or we're quality of service.
Yeah.
So with that, demands a higher price, right?
Yeah.
So oftentimes it's with like price, I use like an analogy there, and that's really it. Like value and price is areas where I would use an analogy to help like deliver my message, or for them to have like a light bulb moment or effect with me.
Sure. Interesting. So my thoughts on this specific application of analogies is like, again, this is the problem I have with like the way these things are framed with sales trainers, and just the nature of short form, video like this, which is not everyone. It's not their fault. I think it's just.
But Hayden, it's the most powerful sales technique in the world.
You just said this is the most powerful sales technique in the world. I understand the hook plays, so that's a great hook, but.
Hot take.
This is one application of, I think, a principle that he's completely missing, or not understanding what he's actually doing, which is so he's using an analogy in order to control the conversation. Because like when a prospect's trying to rush you into price, like the worst thing you can do is give them price like right away, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Because you really need to define that. It's like, is this even a good fit for you?
Yeah.
Like, listen, I don't want you to overpay for my service. You're definitely not going to overpay, but I also want you to get the best service, and I just need to see if it's a good fit.
It's just a long diffusing statement that he uses. That's what it is. It's like a long diffusing statement.
It's almost like a control question, right? Yes, it's like the same principle of a control question, which is like, just tell me the price, and then you're like, well. Listen, I will definitely tell you the price. Just know it's going to be a lot more expensive than what our competitors are. I just have a question though, because I want to make sure it's a good fit. How long have you guys been with your current service? I just don't want to sign you up unless it's a good fit. Actually, I'm genuinely concerned about that.
Yeah.
But like I'm just controlling the conversation.
Yeah.
And there's various tactics to do that. That's what that sounds like to me. And I that's probably not the only application of analogies that he uses, but again, for me, there's another sales training principle that the end. You're saying the end all be all is using analogies when maybe it is in certain situations, maybe it's not. But like the underlying principle is really just controlling the conversation.
Yep.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot of them are just like what Stephen Covey says. Obviously, in a different regard, he's speaking more to like. Well, I guess actually it's pretty similar because it's like these guys are hacking at Leafs when they don't know like that there's actually a route that they should be hacking at that would just allow that, right?
Yeah.
They're focusing on like the phrases, quote unquote, attitudes or behaviors. But in reality, if they just understood the deep underlying meaning or the paradigm, then that's when the quantum change or the quantum result would then happen.
Right.
That's like an overlying principle we're seeing in all these videos. And
100%.
What your conclusion has been is, yes, these phrases work, but it depends. And then on these deeper things, this is what they're actually trying to get across, right? They're actually trying to gain control of the conversation. They're actually trying to build rapport, this and that.
Nice.
And then the even deeper paradigm, which is what you're getting to, is like, am I actually trying to make this a win-win for the customer?
Yeah.
Then it begs the question, how do I portray that in my sales process? Yep. And if that's the case, and someone rushes you, now you go to the scenario, someone rushes you into price, a very easy response, if in fact you want it to be a win-win for the customer, is like, hey, I just want this to be a good fit for you. And for some people it's not. So let's just see if that's the case. Part of it's price, part of it's service. How are you feeling about the service so far though, before I give you price? Like, now I'm in the hypothetical. It's like, I mean, hypothetically speaking, would you consider going with me?
Yeah.
Based on everything you said so far? I've said so far? Okay, cool. Well, let me give you price now. But again, I was controlling the conversation by asking a control question and then seeing if it was actually a good fit.
But if you do want to have the most powerful sales tactics, you should use an analogy, apparently.
The most powerful sales technique.
Oh my gosh!
Jordan, you hear that?
Jordan,
analogies, brother.
All right, guys, let's rate door-to-door stuff another day, if that's okay.
Let's do it another day.
Yeah. I got started real late on this one. I apologize, guys. But
don't be sorry.
This has been fun. Do you guys want to do more of this type of stuff?
I think this kind of stuff's great. I think it's cool too because I feel like I learn as we're going through it as well. I also like seeing like the insides of this guy.
I like the insides of everybody's brain. Yeah, I like
insides of your brain. Sorry. Oh crap!
Oh,
don't tell Becca,
dude. Because one of the side hustles I wanted to review was fecal matter transplants.
Dude, we have a close friend. I'm not going to say his name, but he could make some money doing that. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. And I'm serious. What? I'm being dead serious.
Only
I know I'm laughing.
Matters. Only fecal matters.
But I'm being serious. I'll answer. So I'll expose myself and him. I'm going to expose both of us. I have filled out a survey and a link to do that side hustle.
Dude.
I have
failed you,
dude.
I have failed him.
No.
But think about the efficiency, Hayden.
You might as well just sell your bathwater.
You're doing something that you're going to be doing anyways, regardless. So why not? And it actually helps people.
Okay.
Apparently.
All right. Okay, that's enough.
But anyways, that actually is something that I've been talked to about before. I haven't done it, but I did fill out an
application. How to make 6 figures sitting down all year long,
dude. Yeah,
the best side hustle of 2022.
All you need is a lot of
donate
food
your
and a nice probiotic to make sure that you got some consistent bowel movements.
You ever heard of stool softener?
Cleanser out.
We're launching a brand called Soft Serve.
You guys should watch Theo Vaughn's new podcast with what was it, Mike Rowe? Who's the guy that used to do Dirty Jobs? You remember?
Yeah,
Mike Rowe.
Yeah, Mike Rowe.
So funny, dude. Because Mike Rowe is explaining to
he's a man's man.
Things of like artificially inseminating cows and the process of that, like manure transplants and stuff, and he's explaining it to Theo Vaughn. It's the most hilarious thing to watch.
Theo just asked.
The reason
so funny.
That is why I laugh is because like hearing Theo Vaughn's interview with like Jordan Peterson and some of these guys, like the questions he asks are so funny.
Dude, they're hilarious.
The winner, you know.
Why would I steal your stuff and move next door?
This guy just stole it and don't have it.
All right, guys. Thanks for being on. Thanks for bearing with me and everything, and love you guys.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.